Hello and welcome to another episode of the Career Reset podcast. Welcome to a new background. I typically record in my office, but because my office is at the same time my daughter's bedroom and it's the evening, then my bedroom has been overtaken by a little sleeper. And this whole apartment is an absolute massive mess. If you have a child, you know. And I had to handle the whole evening routine by myself today. A shout out to single parents, you are massive heroes. But then I managed to find one corner of our apartment that is not an absolute mess, and that's where I'm sitting. I'm sitting on our toy chest. I am wearing sweatpants and my college hoodie that I never wear but also can't get rid of because memories, nostalgia, good times, not so much. But I think that is the perfect setting for today's episode, because after being asked many times, many different questions about how I actually started my business from nothing, from being unemployed, and managed to grow it to a place where it quite comfortably supports me financially, while also being pregnant and having a child. And I decided, why not tell that story as a part of this podcast? I think it is relevant to everybody who's considering a different direction in their career. Maybe the idea of starting a business has come to your mind, and I recorded even a separate episode about it, whether it might be a good idea to consider starting a business as a job seeker. But I think rather than giving you some kind of advice, I can give you my story, and maybe you will find it relatable, inspiring, funny, whatever. That's your decision what you take from this episode. But actually, if you are listening to this as a podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, this is not actually the full story. I will include the full story in my membership, which I don't know if I even have mentioned it on the podcast, but in January I started a private membership that I decided to call Solo Business Club. I love that name. I think it's such a good name. And that's where I share the behind the scenes of running a business. I talk about finances, marketing, how do I find clients, how do I navigate the downsides when I can't find clients, and when I procrastinate, and when I don't know what to do, and when I just feel down. All these kinds of things I talk in very brutal honesty in there, and it's a very safe space for everyone if you are considering starting a business and you have a ton of advice, but you actually want to see what it is like day to day, or you want to see if the things you're struggling with, like if you feel like you're the only one and everyone else out there is a success story, then join that membership and you will see. And it's a monthly subscription. It costs only €8. I just spoke to my marketing consultant and she said I'm absolutely crazy that the price should be like 10 times more. But the point of that membership is not money making. The point is to have a space where I can be honest and you can be honest, and I can give some value, not by sharing advice, but by sharing just honest, real day-to-day situation of running my business. And you can cancel anytime. There is no minimal commitment, and you get access to all the content that I have created there. So if you join now, you will get access to 2 months of content. Every single week I release a new exclusive video that is not available anywhere else, and that will not be available anywhere else. You can also chat with me. There is an option to send me a private message. So if you are not a member, you will find a link in the show notes, and that's where you will find this full story, because I'm expecting it's going to be pretty long, and in that community I don't hold back and I don't care how long the videos are, but here on the podcast I want to keep it in some reasonable length. So let's get to it. And I have no notes. I'm just gonna go off of my memory what I remember, and I probably don't remember very well because it has been a while. And also I don't want this to be from like the admin side of things, so I don't want to talk about Okay, so I opened the trade register and I registered my name and I submitted some documents and I got my domain. That's boring, and those are the things that you can Google. Those are, even though people think that that's the hard part, like to figure out the accounting and to figure out the taxes, I don't think so. I think that's the easy part, because you can get exact step-by-step advice from lots and lots of smart people, from ChatGPT, from Google, whatever. But what nobody tells you is how to actually succeed, how to actually find clients, how to actually make money. Of course, there is a lot of advice on it out there, but if it was that easy, all businesses would succeed, which is not the case. And going out and trying to find clients feels vulnerable, feels embarrassing, and that is a whole huge mindset part of managing your emotions and being willing to feel embarrassed and do the scary thing. That's the hard part. The taxes part, the accounting part, very, very easy compared to all that. But I'm jumping ahead. So let's travel back in time. If you have listened to my 3-part career story, I ended part 3 at the point where I got laid off and I was out there without having anything. And in that episode, it's episode 4, I believe, I said there that the podcast is called My Career Story, so I'm not going to talk about my business, because that's a different story, and now is the time for that story. So let's travel back to May 2023. To a situation where I was laid off. I registered with the unemployment office as a job seeker, but my main goal or my main decision was to give it a try and start my career coaching business. And when I say give it a try, I mean it was like literally the only thing I actually wanted to do. Back then, I was a recruiter before I got laid off, and the situation for recruiters was really, really bad. There were like 0 jobs open for recruiters, and the ones that were getting hundreds and hundreds of applications that I just could not compete with in terms of like seniority or a huge passion for the field of recruitment, if I'm honest with you. But on the outside, I kept telling people that my plan is to start my business and see how it goes, and if it doesn't work out, I'm gonna look for a job. The honest story is that I was just very, very committed to getting my business off the ground, because I did not have very good experience from being an employee. I felt no desire to be an employee. I did not see the appeal in that. I did not see myself in any kind of job, any kind of companies. I'm really going to try not to give any kind of advice in this podcast, because I am nowhere near qualified to give business advice. I can only speak from my own experience. But that being said, I also know a lot of entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, and starting a business is really not a thing you can succeed in by approaching it like that you're just gonna try. That you're just gonna give it a little bit and see, and maybe it's gonna work out. Because the thing is, even if you give it your absolute all, it maybe is not gonna work out. But doing it a bit on the side, unless you have existing network, existing brand, existing skills that are in very, very high demand, it's just not gonna work out most probably. But in our society, it's somehow really weird to say that you're really trying something. I feel like that we think that everything should be very effortless and it should just happen naturally to us. I'm now in the age where a lot of people around me included, are having babies, and like it's somehow the right way it's supposed to happen is that you decide and then you don't really, how do I say this, like you don't really time it and it just happens. And the bad way, the cringe way, is if you are waiting for the right day and then you go for it. If you are like looking at the calendar and following your cycle and all that, that's the wrong way. That is the cringe way, the way we don't talk about. We talk about the right way is that it's just supposed to happen, and that is similar, I feel like, with careers and other things in our lives, that it should just be effortless, and it's seen as kind of weird to try really hard. Another example that comes to my mind is now I was watching the Winter Olympics very intensely. My life now feels very empty since the Olympics ended, and always when there was some interview with some athlete, and the athlete said that he is really aiming for a gold medal or for a medal, and often in the media this was almost like criticized, that why is someone so openly saying that they are aiming for the medal, that it sounds very cocky, or I don't know what's the right word. So I feel like that is a bit similar with the business, that the right way is to say that you're just trying and you will see if it works out, but you're not putting your hopes up too much. And that's the same way I communicated about it, but on the inside I felt very differently, and I felt like that was really the only thing I wanted to do. That being said, as I would say any entrepreneur, my expectations of what's it gonna take to actually succeed, to get to some kind of financially stable place, were extremely naive. I just expected that I will need to work hard, and I will need to make some adjustments to my lifestyle, because it's not gonna be an instant hit. But if someone had told me back then how long it's gonna take, how many tries, how many fails, I don't know if I would probably still go for it, but I would be in a very big disbelief, because I really thought that all it takes is to here and there mention about the fact that you're offering some kind of services, and somebody will see it and they will find it interesting, so they will reach out and pay you to provide the services, which in the simplest terms, that is true. In reality, it's not like you mention it once that you're providing some service and someone reaches out to you. It's that you mention it 1,000 times and then maybe few people reach out to you. So 999 times you say, hey, I offer this service, and there is silence and nobody, maybe I'm over exaggerating, okay? You say it 100 times. So 100 times you say, hey, I offer this service, and 99 times nobody reacts, nobody reaches out, absolute silence, you're talking to a wall, and you need to be almost like a completely irrational person when you have no evidence of anyone ever reaching out to, for the 100th time, go out there and be like, guess what? I'm offering this service. Let me know if that's something you would be interested in. And entrepreneurship and job search are oddly similar in many ways. So it feels like if you have sent 99 job applications and you have never heard back, gathering the motivation and strength to send the 100th application and believing it's actually going to lead anywhere is a very, very hard task. And that is the same with entrepreneurship. But okay, I keep jumping to some overall topics, and I'm not really staying on the timeline here. So I'm laid off, I have no job, I don't want to find a job, but I'm registered with the unemployment office, so I have to apply for jobs, and I have zero clue how like the whole admin side works in Finland. So I'm in Finland, I'm a foreigner, I'm not Finnish. I should also mention that I have no network. I have a few friends, few former colleagues, that's my network. I have no personal brand, nobody knows me, I have never posted on LinkedIn, I have nothing. Financially, I have some savings, and I have some money that I got when I got laid off. That's my seed funding. So that's my starting point. I have no track record of building another business. Okay, I have roof over my head. I have a husband to share expenses with. I'm not starting from like 0 like that I live on the street, but I'm starting from 0 in terms of having any kind of assets that I could build my business off. And in terms of some kind of knowledge base. Okay, I have a degree in business, I have a bachelor's degree in like finance and accounting and master's degree in like business management and strategy, but those are not very practically applicable. But okay, I have at least some general understanding of that, what is marketing, what is accounting, what is business operations, but very, very high level and very, very, I would say, outdated, even though surprisingly I got really good education on things like digital marketing. So maybe I have, without knowing it, applied some of this knowledge, but that it would really give me some idea where to start and what to do, I cannot say that. So of course, first things first, I had to get the basic admin things sorted out, and I actually posted once a LinkedIn post where I described the exact steps from the practical point of view, how I started my business in Finland. So I'm going to link that post with this podcast, because I really don't want to spend time here talking about it, because that is boring and it's like easier to just see it from the post. And I don't even remember what were exactly the steps. But this kind of like legal requirements aside, I decided that I would feel more confident if I invested in some training on how to actually start a business. And I wanted to start career coaching business. I was a certified coach, so I had a training to be a coach, but I did not have a training on how to actually start a business in this field. How to find clients, how to do marketing, how to even sell, how to organize that whole infrastructure. So I found one, like a training program for coaches who want to start a business. And if I can give some kind of recommendation here, that's what I would do again. Yes, there is a ton of business advice out there, free advice, podcasts, people on LinkedIn, YouTube videos, books, whatever, you name it. But there is so much advice to the point where it is extremely overwhelming. A lot of the advice is very contradicting each other. So what ends up happening is that you just get confused and you don't follow any of the advice, and you pick every day a new advice that you follow, and you just consume the advice and never actually apply it. So based on what kind of business you want to start, I would find someone who actually built a business in that area successfully, has a proof of doing that, and now teaches other people how to do the same. So if you want to be a consultant, I would find someone who used to be a very successful consultant, and now they teach other people how to be successful consultants. And I would pay for their program, I would go through it, I would implement every single thing they say, and just trust that advice. So that's what I did. And if you are interested what kind of training I did, just send me a message on LinkedIn and I can let you know what it was, but I don't think it's relevant to the general people listening to this podcast. So I invested in that program. How much money did I invest in that program? It was from an American person, and the program cost $2,000. I have invested more money in my learning, in my business since then, so now it doesn't blow my mind, but back then it felt like the biggest sum of money that I have ever even considered. It just felt absolutely crazy, but I told myself that, okay, I have the money, I want to start a business. Starting a business requires some kind of investment. Okay, I'm not building a factory, but I also cannot really trust that I'm just gonna follow my common sense and try things and hope it will work out. It's probably not gonna be that easy, and I really don't know what to do, and I don't want to get overwhelmed, so I'm gonna get this program, go through it, implement the advice. And that's what I did, and that's what I would recommend to other people as well. And I remember when I was paying for that program, filling my credit card info, like my hand was shaking, and I was so worried that I'm doing the stupidest thing ever. But I think the program offered some kind of guarantee that if you don't make a certain amount of money, you're gonna get this investment back. So it was in a way risk-free, and then my ass was on the line because I invested this money and I wanted to make that investment back, and I didn't want to feel stupid that I wasted this money. But how I approached it is that I just decided that I'm gonna take the whole summer to go through the program, it was like a lot of content, a lot of lessons, many hours of videos, and then additional tasks I had to do. But the thing with any kind of business advice is that you can consume as much of it and it's going to make you feel motivated and inspired and maybe even productive. But unless you actually take that advice and go out there and apply it, it's not going to result in anything. And I'm again going to make an analogy to job search. So when I work with my clients and they get access to my online course, and they say that they are still not getting invited to interviews, even though they went through this course. They watched the lesson on how to improve their CV. They watched the lesson on how to improve their LinkedIn profile. And still it resulted in nothing. And then I say, okay, let me take a look at your LinkedIn profile. I take a look at the LinkedIn profile and I see that zero advice that I have given in the lesson was applied. And I said, okay, well, can you show me how exactly you applied the advice I'm giving on a LinkedIn profile? And the person says, well, I haven't got to that yet, but now I have much better understanding how a LinkedIn profile should look like. Okay, that is, of course, step one. But I don't think any recruiter in the world ever invited a person for an interview based on the fact that that person had a good understanding of what a LinkedIn profile should look like. I was very much this person who was consuming the advice and I wanted to first learn it all perfectly so then I can go out there and do it perfectly. Classic perfectionism brain that I had, classic perfectionist fixed mindset that I was in. So the summer actually, that felt really good. I was every day watching the videos, taking notes, filling all the exercises, not applying any of the advice and just making plans on how I'm gonna apply the advice in the future once I go through the entire course. What would have made more sense is to finish one lesson, apply the advice that it says, see how it went, go to the next lesson. But that is easy to see now. I'm making fun of myself a lot, but I have a lot of compassion with myself and I'm very grateful to my past self that whatever she did got us where I'm now, and I'm very grateful. But for the making this episode entertaining, I am making a bit fun of my past approach. I'm also I'm Chandler from Friends. Humor is my coping mechanism. And also on the side, I was working on my website because, of course, that's the most important thing, to have a website, because once you have the website, the clients are going to come out of nowhere. They're just going to find my website and book me for a discussion about my services. No, that's not what happens. Nobody cares about your website unless you are a SEO master and you can really create a website that will actually come up in Google searches. The website will just sit there and nobody will ever look at it. So that was another thing where I spent some amount of money, luckily not much. This was relatively cheap compared to, for example, the course that I bought. But that was another very comfortable thing, that I was just sitting at home and writing my copy for my website and thinking how it should be organized in the different sections. And on top of that, as I mentioned, I didn't have a brand network, anything. I really felt a huge lack of credibility and a huge lack of feeling like a legitimate person that anyone should talk to. And I decided that what is going to give me the feeling of legitimacy, is that the word, is having professional photos. So going to a photographer who's going to do my professional photos. So that's another place where I spent my precious savings, my little money that I was supposed to live off for a very long time. But back then I assumed, that my business was going to take off. So I wasn't so much worried. And I know that is, in some common sense, stupid way to spend money. It wasn't that significant amount. I think it cost €400. So yeah, it was some money, but it's not like I then couldn't eat for the rest of the year or something like that. And I have to say that it really helped me at the beginning to, for example, be active on LinkedIn, because I shared these professional images with the post, and I think it really boosted my confidence to be active and to share on LinkedIn. So it's not like that because I had professional images I found clients, but because I had the images it was easier for me to be active on LinkedIn, which then helped me find clients. Not saying get a professional photo shoot. If you have the same feeling like that, it would just help you feel better, for example, about your website, about your materials, then I believe in paying professionals who do good work. For example, AI generated images or AI edited images, I can always tell, and back then it wasn't even a thing. And nowadays I also think that LinkedIn has gotten much more authentic, or informal maybe is the right word. And I also nowadays post just normal everyday pictures, but I don't regret that I got the pictures. I still use them to this day in my marketing materials, and I am really glad. Like it has definitely paid off in my opinion. But if your finances are very limited, then maybe that's not something I would spend money on. So the summer of starting my business was full of potential. I had these pictures, I was working on my website, I was working through the course, through the program, and just like making lots of plans of how it's gonna go basically. And I think that the course that I went through was really excellent. But it's a different thing what I was talking about basically. Like you're going through the advice and you hear this, that you need to be ready to fail a lot of times. You need to be ready that 9 out of 10 times a potential client is going to say, no, I'm not interested in working with you. And you're like, yep, okay, I can do that. Like, yeah, I can fail. It's fine. It's similar like if you have given birth and you read, I have really weird metaphors today, but this just came to my mind, that before you give birth and you read birth is really painful, and you're like, well, but I have a very high pain tolerance. I think I can really handle it, or well, how hard it can be. Well, I will just be in pain, but I will manage. But then when you're in it for days and you feel that pain, it's extremely uncomfortable, and you want to do anything in the world to just not feel that pain for 1 minute. And I think comparing starting a business to childbirth is not even that off in my personal experience of giving birth and starting a business. So that is the problem with consuming advice, that I was just like, yeah, it's gonna be hard, okay, fine. But then when it actually is hard, when you actually are failing, you suddenly think that, oh my god, what is going wrong? I am not an instant hit, an instant success. I'm spoiler alert, my business was not an instant success. But then for some people this phase can last forever. Like this consuming advice and preparation is all they do in their business. So I'm proud to say that I eventually set a date for when I would launch my business, and I created some kind of process that I would post on LinkedIn, and I would share a link. I think back then I used to share a link directly to book an intro call from my calendar, and the aim of the intro call is to get to know each other, but it's not like okay, here is a free sample of my work. It's more like, let's talk about working together. I'm giving you the opportunity to ask me questions. I'm gonna explain how exactly I would help you, and that is the point of the intro call. But because now the demand for my services is very high, I cannot give like free access to my calendar because it would be like completely booked out, and I would not have time to have sessions with my existing clients and record podcasts and so on. But the launch date of my business was actually a deliberate choice, because on the 7th of August I moved to Finland. So that is every year when I don't really celebrate, but I just noticed that is my anniversary of moving here in 2023. That was 6 years since I moved here. So I thought that would be like a nice symbolic date. And also in my industry, in my country, August is a really good time to talk about career changes, because in July everybody's on vacation, and in August people are coming back, and often the coming back from vacation does not feel really good and really makes you question that the job you're doing, is that actually something you want to do? And as I would say for almost any starting entrepreneurs, I was not very clear on what was my ideal customer and target audience and all this kind of thing. I just said, well, I'm a career coach. If your job sucks, I'm gonna help you find a job that feels better. But I wasn't even so specifically back then focusing on job search. That kind of came later from finding out what actually people sought me with. So I was like a very general career coach, just helping you in some sort of way with your career. And it's common that you're kind of stuck in this cycle that you offer very generic services because you haven't spoken to enough potential clients, but because you speak in very generic terms, then the clients are not coming to you, so you don't have these discussions and this data to actually base your services on. So that's a very hard phase, but I was extremely lucky. Now I have to see it as just extremely lucky, or all that compounded work and motivation just showed up. And when I posted my very first post, I'm not sure if it was like the very first post on LinkedIn, but definitely it was the first one related to my business, and it was inviting people to book this intro call with me. I got two potential clients interested, and I was super happy, I was super excited, and I thought that, okay, well, this is great. I just posted once and I already got two interested clients. So this is how it's gonna go. I'm gonna keep posting, I'm gonna keep finding more clients, and I'm in no time earning pretty good money. Oh well. So the two people scheduled the intro call. I sent them a message that, hey, thank you, really looking forward to it. I think I took the whole day off to prepare for these calls. I had a process that I follow to some extent to this day in my intro calls. I looked at the people's background. I was so nervous, extremely nervous. Now having these intro calls, I don't need to think about it. I don't feel nervous at all about them. And the very, very first person ghosted me. The person just did not show to the call. So I spent one whole day reviewing the part of the business course that I bought that was specifically about running these sales calls. Then I spent half a day just preparing mentally and taking notes, and then I sit in the call and the person just didn't join the call. So then I sent an email that, hey, are you coming to the call? Sounding very casual, even though I was freaking out. And she didn't reply, and then the next day she sent me a message that something came up and she will book another call. And when you are at this stage, when you're at the very early stage and you have very little interest, and then finally you have a potential client, you chase this client like crazy, basically, because you feel like it has taken you all this time to find this one potential client, so you cannot let them go. You need to follow up and you need to stalk them and you need to make sure that they somehow become your client, because this is your one and only chance. And that's another thing that right now, because I have worked with so many clients and I have had so much interest towards my services, and it doesn't even happen that someone ghosts me, but sometimes people on the call, they tell me, okay, thank you, I will think about it, and then I never hear from them again. They just didn't want to tell me in the call, in my face, that they are not interested, which, by the way, my face can very much handle that, and I have no judgment. I respect everyone's decision. I actually value that very highly if you can tell me right there in the call that what I'm offering is not the right solution for you, and we can just part ways without any bitter feeling on at least my side. So right now I just have a lot of things going on, so I don't have even time and energy to think about what happened to the person that hasn't replied to my email, because I have other people in the line, which is a very nice situation to be in. But when starting again, I have a lot of compassion for myself that I was chasing every single person who even slightly hinted that they might be interested. So that's what I did with this person who ghosted me. I was sending her, by the way, this is the link, and have you found a suitable time to yourself yet, and so on. But then there was another person that booked a call. We had the intro session and it went super well. We clicked. I could see quite quickly what was the problem. I could see how I could help them. And that person became my first client. And it wasn't like that was the first person I ever worked with. I would not feel genuine taking money from someone if I didn't have a proof that I can actually help them. And I maybe mentioned that in one of my previous podcasts, that when I was going through the coach training, I worked with a lot of people for free for a very long time just to get those success stories and to practice. I think I did that for at least like 6 months or maybe almost a year. I just coached friends of friends, family of friends, and so on. And when I got a good track record of people actually getting results with my services, and when people started offering me to pay me, which was crazy, that's when I started feeling confident to actually start charging for my services. And that was actually even before I had experience in recruitment, which for a career coach I personally think is a necessity. So that of course added to the value I was able to provide. So super happy times, got a client started working with me, we started having sessions, and I was so happy it was finally happening, and it was exactly what I dreamed of, like doing something I was very passionate about, doing something I was very good at, helping people, making money by helping people, like the dream. And I really thought that was the beginning of everything. And I remember the moment that the client paid the invoice and I just saw that money in my bank account, and I was in an absolute disbelief that money is there in the bank account, that it actually happened. And because there was some insecurity definitely there, so for that specific client, he got 100 times the value that I charged him. I did so much for my clients back then. I was almost like overdoing it, that after every single session I was sending this extremely detailed review of what we did, and I didn't use any AI note taker in the session. I just took a lot of notes, just with pen and paper, and then I would type the notes, and then I would make some sense of it, and then I would prepare to the next session. The amount of hours I spent on this one client was crazy. He's doing well now, so all went well. And so now, on top of doing all the marketing that back then used to take me so much time to post on LinkedIn, to come up with the idea, put the post together. I was also back then, I have actually a blog on my website, and I used to write every week an article for the blog that used to take me also so much time. And then I was working with this client. And to be honest with you, I kind of thought that from then on, like the snowball would start snowballing and the clients would start coming in, which did not happen. It did not happen for a month. I think then for a whole month nobody booked the intro session with me, and I was slightly starting to panic, but at the same time, I think, so now we are in September, and I was out there. I was every single week in multiple networking events. Autumn I traveled quite a lot. I went to see my family in Czech Republic, and I just checked, okay, is there any networking events in Prague? Okay, speed networking event, let's go. Didn't know anyone there, have never been to that type of event. Back then, like, I feel like there wasn't in Finland that many English speaking events, and the ones that like were there, they were very, very random. So I just went to event for financial consultants, whatever. I went there were only middle-aged men in suits, and then there was me, and that was a really cool event. But I just knew I have to do something. Like if I sit at home and feel desperate that I don't have clients, like that's definitely not gonna get me anywhere. Again, this is a bit of a parallel to a job search. But this is a phase in any kind of starting business. that you are doing so much ridiculous amount of things and you see nothing for it. And that is, I believe that is why so many businesses fail. I don't like the term because it's just like very, very heavy, but it's completely understandable that you are doing all this work, and it's not so much in terms of hours. Depending on the type of business you start, where you need to, for example, develop a product, it can take like a lot of actual hours. But in my case, I worked so hard, not that I didn't sleep for a year, but I worked so hard. I was every day doing things that were extremely uncomfortable. Going to a networking event, I used to feel like physically sick about it, and everything in me was screaming, don't go, don't go, don't go. And then there was just one small part that you want to start a business, you want to be successful, well, you're gonna need to do things that feel uncomfortable. And I just decided to listen to that voice. And then when you start collecting the experience, that you start going to the events and you actually enjoy them and it's fine and you meet nice people and you make friends and it kind of brings you only positives, then with each next one it's easier to go there. And it's not like that in these events I have found clients. I think I have had maybe 2 or 3 discussions with potential clients. I don't think those particular ones even resulted in becoming clients. So like, yes, it can be a source of clients, but for me it was just a huge source of learning to be comfortable, talking to new people, communicating with people. Like how good are you in communicating with new people? How good are you at introducing yourself, explaining what you do? Most of us, without having enough practice, are really bad at this. And thanks to going to these events, I really became much better at it. And then in October, I went to London with my mom, and I thought like, wow, that would be cool to go to like networking event in London. And I did, and that was such a cool experience. And now it's so great to be able to look back and just be proud of how brave you were, how you were doing these crazy things that you almost can't believe that you gathered up the courage to do something like that. So the whole autumn of 2023, I wasn't successful at all. I had this one client, and I then found one other client who also is now super successful in her career, and I'm just super proud of her and have very nice memories of that collaboration. But I cannot say that I wasn't doing enough. I was doing so much, lots and lots of very brave, courageous things. I was posting on LinkedIn. A lot of the posts were horrible because I was just getting better at it. Most of the posts didn't get any reactions, any comments. I would always at the bottom of the post write, let me know your thoughts, and nobody ever let me know their thoughts. So money was running out. It was like a very, very intense time, and I can see that I am already talking for an hour. Maybe the podcast isn't an hour yet, because I'm gonna edit it a little bit for you. But I will now stop here the podcast, like the public side of things. And if you want to listen to the rest of this story, then I invite you to my solo business club. You will find a link in the show notes, and you can be a member in a few minutes. You can join us for a month, see how you like it, and no strings attached. You can then decide to leave, but in the month you can watch all the content that is already there, listen to like me talking about lots of different aspects of my business, tons of ideas for your own business, get inspired. Like I feel like nobody else does this. Nobody else gives you this like honest, real information of what it's like to running a business. Everybody will wait till they're successful and then they're gonna tell you 10 steps that got me to my 10k months, and I am at the 10k months, but there is a lot that is happening on the background. Like, yes, there is that money coming to my bank account, and after so much time that is definitely nice, but with entrepreneurship there is so many emotions, so many mindset things, and that's exactly what I'm talking through in the membership. So if you want to hear the rest of the story, if you want to hear my absolute lowest months when I was the closest to quitting, and 2024 was a year of failures and a year of just like thinking I will need to give up. And then 2025 was year of successes. But if you want to hear that, then head over to my solo business club, join us, and you will not regret. Maybe this will be the first investment in your business, and it's definitely a great place to actually turn your business idea into reality, or you are already a fellow entrepreneur, and I would love to welcome you there in that case as well. So podcast people, see you in the solo business club or in the next episode. And for my members, let's continue.